The data center, the machine behind the grandest tulip of the 21st century, AI. Data centers are very large structures which house supercomputers that, in today's AI market, have tens to hundreds to even thousands of NVIDIA's Blackwell GPUs per computer, totaling out to hundreds of thousands of GPUs per data center. For those of you who don't know, a GPU is a graphics processing unit. They have many uses outside of processing graphics, such as running AI, so their more accurate name is parallel processor, which, unlike central processing units, also known as CPUs, parallel processors can run many different small processes at once, unlike CPUs, which run processes one by one. Data centers are notorious for being ridiculously expensive, and if you calculate the cost of 100,000 GPUs alone, it already costs well over $3.5 billion just to purchase only a part of the hardware. That, combined with other costs of construction, makes it seem as if the AI market shouldn't really be as bustling as it should. Why are data centers popping up everywhere? Why do they consume so much water? Why is there so much demand? To examine this, we need to start by looking all the way back at the NVIDIA RTX 30 series, which had GPUs that were cheap for their abilities. The RTX 3080 GPU was a great GPU if you wanted to have a gaming PC, as it had an MSRP of $699. The problem? GPUs had a very big advantage for people that were not gamers. During the COVID-19 pandemic, GPUs became in high demand for two groups who were not the target consumers: scalpers and crypto miners. Scalpers are only partially relevant to this video, so I'll keep it short. In short, scalpers use bots to instantly buy as many RTX 30 series GPUs as soon as they came in stock, only to sell them on eBay for heavy markups. Crypto miners also had bots purchasing as much stock as possible, and they did not resell their GPUs. Instead, they used their GPUs for mining crypto, and they often made improvised server racks for those GPUs, which were running 24/7 to mine crypto. Data centers used to be more focused on storing data at this time, but with the profitability of crypto mining, many data centers began purchasing server GPUs to mine crypto, on top of some data centers being constructed for this aforementioned purpose. Crypto mining has been profitable since the start of the pandemic, with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and many other cryptocurrencies increasing 10 times their value since 2020 at the time of the peak cryptocurrency mining. The difference between older data centers and these crypto data centers is their electricity consumption. It takes less energy to store data than it does to run a GPU constantly. When the GPU market was bearish, or not doing well, the data center was running on lower margins due to electricity costs. But when the crypto market was bullish, these data centers made a ton of money. Now enter AI. AI, or artificial intelligence, is essentially really complicated linear algebra, nonlinear algebra, and statistics that, if done by hand, would take years to complete. In fact, the math behind models like Gemini or ChatGPT were present since the mid-20th century. Why has it taken so long for this technology to emerge? The answer lies with GPUs. Since NVIDIA's Blackwell GPUs can solve a 2.5 quadrillion basic floating point math problems at once, it can easily do the math behind the matrices to calculate an LLM response in seconds. A human with pencil and paper, on the other hand, to calculate out a model that relies on trillions of parameters, we need about 500,000 years of non-stop working to spit out a single ChatGPT response. If you're confused about any of this, please leave a comment. I don't have many subscribers or views, so I can easily respond to the comments if you have any. When Blackwell GPUs hit the market, AI instantly became better. AI could easily hit milestones on accuracy due to its usefulness in pattern recognition, general use in finding information. It was easily marketed, and the AI boom was born. Since 2020, 70,000 AI startups have been founded. each vying for some of that computing power that a data center offers. Remember these crypto mining data centers? They realized it was more profitable to just let firms run AI on their GPUs than to just mine crypto. This is why Ethereum, a cryptocurrency, ended up crashing. It wasn't being mined as much as it used to be mined. As a result of this massive profitability, many larger AI firms began building data centers of their own, or overhauling their CPU-heavy data centers into AI data centers that are GPU-heavy. We still haven't fully answered the question of why so many data centers are being built. Obviously, the first part of the why is AI, which has been increasing in value. The second part of the why is just business economics. Imagine you had a business model where all the costs were upfront. That's the business model that data centers use. Data centers, which span hundreds to thousands of acres, cost little day to day because they employ few people, use cheap electricity, and use water to cool. The largest factor of that is energy prices. Most of the time, energy is cheap, and that means AI data centers are very profitable, often getting 50% profit margins. To investors and capital managers, this is very, very lucrative. This explains why data centers are popping up everywhere. Locally, though, political opposition mounts for politicians who support these data centers. The thing that's working in favor of these data centers? Local governments are either A, often corrupt and can easily be bribed, or B, out of money. The tax dollars that are generated by data centers is usually pretty massive. Why then would people be against them? Water, electricity, and light pollution. It is simple supply and demand. When an AI data center consumes as much water and electricity as 100 to 2,000 people on average, a small or mid-sized town can easily see its water and electricity demand skyrocket from the data center. When demand increases and supply doesn't increase at all or as fast, prices rise. This cost gets passed to the residents, and people have an increase in their cost of living, which is unpopular. Data center projects are being canceled in part because of local opposition. In fact, half of all data centers in the U.S. are getting delayed or canceled due to opposition, the physical hardware like RAM or GPUs being unavailable, utility companies auditing electricity requests hoarding from data center projects, and energy prices increasing. If the latter continues, the momentum the stock market has had behind AI might come to a halt. Have a great day, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.